Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Social Chatter, your weekly social media marketing talk show. My name is Christian Karasevich, and tonight I'm joined by my co-host, Nick Rishwain, and we've got a repeat guest tonight. We've got Moshe Isaacian back on. We had him back on because we ran into some technical difficulties a couple of weeks back, and so we're really looking forward to having him on tonight. So I'm just going to say a quick hello to everyone, and then we're going to bring Nick on, and then we're going to bring Moshe. How are you doing, everyone? My name is Christian. For those of you who are following along, you can follow along on facebook.com/socialchefs. You can also tweet us with the hashtag of Social Chatter. We'll also be sharing all the links that we're talking about right now on the Facebook page. That's where we're broadcasting at right now. So I want to welcome Nick on. How you doing tonight, Nick?
Doing well, thanks, Christian. I'm Nick Rishwain, co-host here at Social Chatter, and I'm excited to have Mo back on the show because we did an intro of Mo like 3 or 4 or 5 times the last time, and we got no recording out of it. He had some great stuff to say. He's done some really cool things, such as find little hidden features in Snapchat. I'm not going to do the intro again. I'm going to let him do the intro because I don't want to screw it up. And I don't want to jinx us this time, so I would really love it if you brought Mo in and let Mo do a little intro of some of the exciting things that he does. Mo is great because he has located on more than one occasion really cool features in some of the social media apps. Mo, I'm glad you're here. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I'm glad that so far no hiccups, so it's going well. But yeah, a little bit about me is that I kind of got into social media marketing as an EDM blogger, managed profiles here and there, and I was always on top of cutting edge technology. Love Snapchat, as a consumer first before I kind of applied, innovative strategies around it. Next thing you know, I wanted to look at what's coming, kind of discover new features. In the past couple months, I found stuff about Facebook Live, innovative strategies around it. Next, new ad options, things like that. So that's a kind of field that I'm getting into is what's coming next. That's what people should be focusing on. And I'm excited to chat social media with you guys. It's been a long time coming.
Very cool. Yeah. Now tell us, there was some cool news for you this week, or somewhat cool news. Can you share a little bit about that? Something that you had produced in school, that a campaign that you had created that ended up being used by a pretty big name.
Yeah, I pitched a campaign for UCLA Anderson. It was an integrated marketing course in the summer, and we pitched it to Honest Company. It was a campaign kind of to bring them back to their roots, what really makes their products amazing. It was called Honest Moments, and yeah, the other day I was doing a little competitive analysis. I'm working with a baby client right now. And lo and behold, I noticed the campaign on their website, so I'm really honored that, they saw the idea as valuable. It was, still in shock. It's been 24 hours since I found it.
Yeah, I happened to see it on your Facebook yesterday. I could tell you were pretty excited about it, and that's cool. I mean, it's a real accomplishment. It's a real compliment, to have something that you did during school or as a project, and then have somebody use it for an actual campaign. That means you were onto something, right?
Right. And that's what that's why I love, the field. That's why I keep working every day, is to be the first person on top of these things.
That's right. Excellent. So we got 4 stories for you and a couple of tools for you tonight. And for those who are listening or visiting, watching the show tonight, we want you to know ahead of time that we've got a couple of different items here. We've got some items off of Twitter, we've got an item about Snapchat, and then we have something that's coming from Amazon today. And I tell you that ahead of time because last week we had a whole bunch of stories about Facebook, and we want to switch it up here, cover some of the news items that are happening on other platforms, and it just depends on the week and what's happening. So let's jump right into our first story today. I think of it as sort of a small story in the overall scheme of things, but it is a change. After 7 years, Twitter is rethinking their default profile photo, which we're all used to being the egg. They've gone through several different designs for this default photo. They're trying to encourage people to use a personal photo to express yourself better. And they came up with this sort of head and shoulders gray photo. I'm going to post that in the Facebook chat. Mo, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think that this is a good change for Facebook or for Twitter? Is this something that they needed? I think they needed a change personally, but what do you think about this as the default profile photo?
Well, to be honest, I thought it was an April Fool's joke to begin with. I mean, especially with the other Twitter changes that happened right before, I'm like, okay, maybe they're trying to play a joke on the whole cover photo thing. It was kind of like, Facebook's, when you're thinking about that shoulders and the head model, you think of like an empty Facebook profile. But, now that I kind of see the vision behind it, it makes sense. The egg has lately become a symbol for harassment. They have, they've been trying to fight so hard against these eggs. Muting them probably wasn't enough. Let's come up with something that, people really can't hide behind. This is very neutral. Comes down to the color. They explained it even with the shape. I don't know if they need to go so far to describe the shape of it, but we get it. Like, this is their way of kind of tackling the issue. Is it enough? Yeah, I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Like, that's been in the back of my head. Like, I'm not sure if it's enough.
I'm not sure it changes much of anything other than the actual image. Is my feeling. Christian, what are your thoughts on it?
I agree with you all completely on that. From a business perspective, like, the only thing I would say is, and I tell every single client I work with, I tell every single employee that I work with, when you create a Twitter account or any social media account, take a new photo and upload it right then, so that, like, you actually have yourself, up on the, on your account. So for me to see this, I mean, I like the fact that it's sort of like, a mesh of the two, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for me from a business perspective.
No, I agree. And in fact, I mean, this article that they shared from Twitter's blog, they went into some extreme depth as to how they went through this design and how they came to this choice. And I thought, boy, that's a lot of effort for something that doesn't look like it's all that important.
Right.
So that was my feeling.
That's why I felt it was like, an April Fool's joke because, Twitter likes to go and ramble on about new features. And I thought, okay, they're carrying the joke so far to make this. But, like my question to you, Christian, is do you think that for the harassment issue that that is one of the main issues that Twitter is facing, do you think that this will solve it or tackle it in any way, shape, or form?
I think it might, I think it's going to appease people. I think they're going to feel like, oh, hey, Twitter's actually doing something or trying to do something about this, but I don't think it's going to solve the main issues. People are going to still open accounts. They're going to still keep whatever the default profile is. They're not going to really care about that, I don't think. They're going to continue, if they're going to be a troll, they're going to continue trolling somebody. So to me, this doesn't really, doesn't do a whole lot in that sense. Now, one thing I think I was also looking at from a visual aspect, I'm going to actually pull up, by the way, what the some of the designs they kind of went through were. So I was just a little surprised. So, like, when I look at, like, Facebook and I look at Twitter and I look at Instagram and I look at Snapchat, everybody is moving away from the square profile photo. They're really moving towards this whole circular, the one in the bottom left corner there. They're moving towards that circular profile. And so I'm actually kind of surprised that Twitter actually didn't kind of move more towards that direction. Snapchat, moved to Bitmoji for your profile. Facebook now has circular photos, so I'm not sure what Instagram I think is the same way. So I think Twitter, I'm not sure what they're doing here, if they're just trying to be different or what.
Trying to be different wouldn't be so bad. We remember in the 2000s when all the icons came out, everybody was using a lowercase t or a lowercase f, so doing something a little different, that doesn't bother me. I actually think that's pretty good. But overall, the effort that they went into on this just seems like way too much for what they accomplish. Maybe it wasn't that much effort at all. Maybe they looked at a half a dozen different logos or default profile photos, and this is what they came up with. But I don't think that it solves the
bigger issue,
the harassment issue at all. No, I think if anything, it just makes it look a little less like what we've all come to understand as the bots or the harassment things is just the egg being representative of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not going to take more than a week for me to think, well, I'm not going to follow back a person who has no profile photo.
So I have a question on this. So do you guys think that well, actually, I have two questions. So one, do you think that this is actually going to be like, do you think that the average user is going to go in there and see, this new silhouette basically and make the connection that, hey, Twitter has made this change? Or are they going to think like, oh, hey, somebody actually uploaded a photo that looks like a silhouette, but, Twitter's used to doing the egg thing. Like, do you think that news is going to actually get to them?
No, I can't imagine a new user even paying attention to that or knowing that.
Yeah, I don't think they'll bat it a second eye.
Yeah. Which brings us, I think we covered that as much as you can really cover a change of a default profile photo, right?
Right.
Should we move on to the next topic?
Actually, I just want to say, just give everybody a real quick tip. So anybody who has like a smartphone, if you want to take a new profile photo, you create a new account. If you've got an iPhone, for instance, you could open the camera app. There's a square option, and you can get a very nice photo directly on your smartphone and have a new photo uploaded to Twitter in just a couple of seconds. So,
yeah. So do it, because it does solve that problem of people thinking that you are some sort of a bot or somebody who's going to be harassing. So it does solve that problem. Our next story tonight is this is where Twitter has finally stepped up their game some, is in their direct messages. In this article came out on Monday. It said, starting today, businesses building on our direct messages platform can request and share locations with people. So alongside their quick replies, their welcome messages, and customer feedback cards, the quick reply being the one that I think is, or not so much the quick reply, but the quick reply, was that the ellipses, the show that somebody is writing back to you? No, I'm sorry, That's a different one. But I think their direct messaging overall is improving. I can have a conversation with somebody, and if they're still in direct message, I can see whether or not they're writing back, and that's improved. The quick replies was a different issue, but people have complete control over the location information that they share with a business. Businesses must first ask a person to share a location. That person can then choose to ignore the request, share a precise location, or pick a place name from a list, regardless of whether or not they are physically there. So it seems like this is a better way for businesses to share great customer experience, but it also gives the user some power to prevent businesses from acquiring all the location information. So the business has to first request that. So if you are, it depends on some understanding for context here, whether to engage with a location-aware bot or to get better customer service. For example, a TGI Fridays has made it quick and easy to find a local store from which to place an order or make a reservation using direct messages. So, I think this is a pretty good move for Twitter, who has had difficulty with their ad campaigns. This might be a way for them to get more businesses using their services. Mo, what are your thoughts?
I think it's great for brick and mortar businesses. Just like, let's say you want to reward a customer, instead of sending them a care package, you can be like, hey, jump to the nearest, TGI Fridays, Red Lobster, well, whatever, come pick up the prize right here, get some foot traffic into place, get a little bit more personal connection. If anything, I want to see a campaign where, people, there's a bot set up on the business end where they send people to a location to meet their favorite artist, kind of like a scavenger hunt. Let's think, how could this be used not just to answer concern, but also for creative ideas. Maybe something like Taco Bell has an influencer on site. You have to message him to get the location, in a specific area.
Right.
If anything, I'm also excited. When looking into this new feature, we should also expect more to come out of it because of the API now being open to everyone. Twitter kind of made it known that the direct message API is open for new platforms, new bots to kind of take advantage of this. So it could start with this location hunt, maybe, more creative options to respond to people. So it's a really, big development hidden in a small package, if you ask me.
I think so too. I think with a lot of what they've been doing with their direct messages, they're finally upping their game in that particular area, which they desperately needed. Christian, what do you think?
I love the idea of this, by the way. I like the fact that people can go and they can get all this information basically by interacting with a bot. I like the fact that it's really like seamless. It reminds me of like if everybody's used their iPhone and you've used AirDrop, for instance. It's very easy to just, if I want to get something from you, I have to then have you approve it. I can't just like do this stuff, And I think it's going to help make people feel. I think they're going to feel more comfortable doing that. Now, I do wonder, like for example, like if I want to find the location of a place, I'm just going to fire up the Maps app. There's a lot of other apps as well. Like if I'm looking at restaurants here, I'm typically going to go place an order through one of those tools, one of those apps. For instance, if I want to make an order. Or in some cases, some of these businesses already have apps. Like, for instance, Chipotle. I know they don't have this, like a bot set up, but you can go place an order for Chipotle through the Chipotle app. You can tie into all of your stuff you already have, your saved order, and you can quickly place an order. So I like the fact, though, that this is, it's making things a little more seamless. I think it'll obviously take a little bit of time, but I think also it's something that, like, there's a lot of potential with this.
I just noticed it's powered by Foursquare. So it'll be interesting to see if there's an integration with that app as well. Looking from the photo itself. So, if anything, kind of setting up accomplishments for checking in at the place, or I don't really play around with Swarm, to be honest. I like Yelp better, but for people who use Foursquare, this could be another incentive to kind of jump on this app.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't use Swarm or Foursquare. I do use Yelp, so it's I don't know if those two apps are if they have a huge following. I don't know. Will anybody know about that? What they're?
I used to use Foursquare a lot.
Okay.
Then I moved to Yelp, and I still use Yelp, but I know I also use Google Maps for a lot of things as well, because they've started to tie in a lot of location data in there, because they own Zagat, so they own the reverse.
Oh, okay.
So,
I mean, this could be just, if anything, just data collection. If how many people are going into the store because of these campaigns, get some hard information. Is like just tracking it from beginning to end. I see why they could have partnered up with Foursquare for that information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's. Well, interesting to see. I'm glad I'm glad Twitter seems to be trying some things that are that seem to have us thinking positively about the things that they're doing. Hopefully that will continue. So our next story for tonight, third topic for tonight, comes from Snap in their blog, and I am going to post this over on topic 3 is Snapchat searchable stories, and we want to say hi to Joanne Kroll, who is visiting. She's been with us the whole time over on Facebook Live. Thank you, Joanne, for being here. We appreciate the support. And so our third story for tonight is there is a story for everything. That's the title of it. This came out March 31st. Now, most people who are Snap savvy have been aware of this and have been discussing this, but they launched stories in October 2013. Stories have evolved from the singular personal perspectives to include collective narratives created by our entire community, with Snap submitted to our story and curated by our team. Their stories have provided behind-the-scenes snaps from interesting events all over the world, from the field of the Super Bowl to the summit of Mount Everest. which the Mount Everest climb was very cool. I did see that story. So they've built a new way to understand what's happening in snaps that are submitted to their story, and to create new stories using advanced machine learning. The results have been amazing. This now gives you the ability to search Snapchat stories. So in addition to their professionally curated stories, you can watch a local basketball game, check out the scene at your favorite bar, view your favorite Fashion Week shows, get inspired by a faraway place, search for puppies. What did Chelsea Pites, one of our former guests, was telling us? She put in LOS. She was going to put Lost, and she brought up. She was typing in LOS in the search, and it brought up some great stories on Petra in Jordan, and she got some great, was able to watch a really great story. I think it was on. I think it was called. Is it called the Lost City of Petra? Does anybody know? I thought it was, and so that's why I was thinking that the LOS. She was looking up Lost, and then this story of Petra came up. I saw that on her Snap story yesterday. I think this is a good feature. This is great for discoverability. Right now, I mean, one of the biggest problems with Snapchat is the discoverability. Correct? You have to know or have gotten somebody's snap code or username from somebody else, or you located it somewhere, and that's how you started following them. But this really opens up what you're able to see. What are you thinking, Mo?
I'm finally glad that they introduced this feature. It's been a long time coming. I've always been big on Snapchat because I love that you can, interact with people. Now, profiles are more public. Content lives on for longer. Now, your stories really matter. People have to think about, what are you really snapping? If anything, I'm interested to see how this leads to the webification of Snapchat. If anything, I've been kind of following how Snapchat has allowed people to add profiles directly from the web. Our story is going to live on the web now. Are they going to get more visibility? Are they going to, is this going to be able to beat Instagram stories, for example? The problem with these stories is they're so limited to the mobile platforms. Nobody can really see them. They don't have a lot of marketing value. Now that you have search, now that you have stories that can live on for months at a time, they say. If you go into the writing, they say that I'm going to read it up. Simply take a snap and add it to a story. You may see it in relevant stories. It may even live on for a couple months. So that's what I'm interested to see. Is this going to be, something they can use for marketing promotion material? Are you able to say that, hey, what you're creating has the potential to live on forever. This is going to become evergreen content that you're creating right now. So that's what excites me, not just to be able to, find new stories to learn about. It's the fact that my content has created marketing value in the future.
And that's an interesting point. I was thinking of it from a user perspective, how I might enjoy this. You thought you brought it the more business perspective, which is really brilliant. Can I make now some evergreen content from Snapchat? Because that you've seen a story strung together over several snaps that's quite impressive, that you'd go back and watch it again if it hadn't already disappeared, or if they hadn't saved it to memories and uploaded it to YouTube or something like that. Right. So this is really that is exciting. Christian, what do you think about this?
I love the fact that this is adding discoverability. I love the fact that, if I'm looking at, for instance, Instagram and I'm looking at Facebook, I think they're kind of in a way lacking, because you're kind of relying on Facebook to surface that content. I like the fact, though, with this, it's able to pull up stuff that's around me, for instance. I love the fact, I'm reading through this and it says, hey, if you share something that is actually really good, they might actually include it in the story, in some of the stories. And I like the fact that, that Moshe, like you said there, that helps that content be evergreen content that helps it live on, so that people can create, really good content, spend the time curating something that's great, so that it has the potential to live on. And you're not relying, you're still relying on Snapchat to kind of to identify that content and say, hey, let's put this in this particular area. But it also gives, I think Snap also, don't they have a local team? They have a team, for instance, that does all their news, right? So it's not
that curates everything.
Right, so they're not using an algorithm, so they're actually using things where they could run it against a database or something, or and that way they have a lot of data points to be able to make a decision on, hey, is this something we should leave in here? Or, hey, I'm starting to see a lot of people like sharing this particular story. Maybe that's something we should consider, putting out there for everybody to be able to quickly find. So I love the fact that they're adding this. I actually wonder, will Instagram and Facebook, I would say bar, but would they incorporate this into their next, update, for instance?
Right. There is a Chrome I would like to say there is a Chrome extension that allows you to see these stories on the web, but we're talking about being able to link out,
right,
and have this content that you can view just from your desktop and flip through it. Because I do want to give a mention to this Twitter user that kind of lined up the webification of Snapchat from when Snapcodes first appeared on desktop and so on. Andrea Lopez, Blue Choo Choo on Twitter. So I'm wondering if this is like their ultimate plan.
This stuff, and Snapcodes first.
So I'm wondering if this is their ultimate plan to kind of lead it that way, to make Snap Stories have a life of their own beyond the 60-second MO that we've come to know Snapchat for. The disappearing content now as true marketing value.
Yeah, but I hope that they don't leave. I think my personal view is that I hope they don't leave that original, what we've come to know them for, that disappearing content. I hope you still have the option for that, because that does make it essentially exclusive content for a short time. That's almost the call to action, right? Well, if I like this person and I find them humorous, or I find their content interesting, that disappearing content is a call to action or a drive to go and watch that story today. So I hope that there are options in there to remain that way if that's their end game for the webification, if that's their end game. Hopefully there will be options to either opt in or opt out of that.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I wonder even how they contact people to keep the content on for longer. I mean, if you're uploading something to a public story, right, are you relinquishing your right for it to disappear by 24 hours? Or that's something to, that you've yet to see. I tried looking, while you were describing this feature, I tried looking up some of the codes. It wasn't working for me, so maybe it hasn't launched yet. It's only been a couple days since they announced it, right?
Yeah, March 31st it looked like, and I have not tested out the story search feature yet. But I do plan on doing that. I probably will tonight now that we've discussed it. Any other thoughts on this, Christian?
No, I don't have any other thoughts on it. I think it's a great tool. I could see this, at some point incorporating Snapchat Spectacles. I think Vincent Orlick and we talked a lot about this when Spectacles came out, about having it where people could use this. I think he was on. We talked about like Snap's like team to curate news. I could see this at some point being useful for like having spectacle. Like maybe there's a way to get into the camera, for instance.
Right.
Which I think could be really cool to be able to say, hey, like, let's have Moshe give us access to his camera, and like we could either control something or have the ability to pull in some of those snaps that he's getting to get the content faster, maybe.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
That's a good idea. Interesting idea. Yeah, let's move to our fourth and final story for this evening, because it's another influencer story. This comes from Amazon quietly launching its own social media influencer program into beta. It's just beta right now. And this will be interesting. Other than being a Prime subscriber, it'll be interesting to see how they use this. So, social media influencers like Instagram stars, YouTube celebs, and this story came from TechCrunch, and it came out also March 31st. So social media influencers like Instagram stars, YouTube celebs often promote products they like, either as part of a brand relationship or as a means of generating income through affiliate sales. So now Amazon is looking to get in on this action as well. The company quietly launched their Amazon Influencer Program, which is in beta testing. Similar to the Amazon affiliate program, the new program will offer influencers commission on products sold, but is not open to the public. So one of the key things that makes the new influencer program different from Amazon affiliates is its exclusivity. Today, anyone can sign up to be an affiliate, which you can't yet do as an influencer. Influencers must submit an application to be considered for inclusion. According to the program details page, only those influencers with large followings will be accepted. And I'm guessing they're probably going to base that on some arbitrary number, such as 100,000 Twitter followers or something like that, YouTube followers, Instagram followers. In addition, Amazon considers other metrics like fan engagement on posts across a variety of social media platforms, quality of content, and the level of relevancy for Amazon. Company says there is not a set cutoff in terms of follower count that guarantees an influencer will be let into the program, and that if influencers across all tiers and categories will be represented. So they say no set number. I don't know if I believe that. Mo, what are your thoughts on this program?
Well, first of all, I want to give an interesting fact. I was looking to this program when it got launched, and today's Amazon's market value is near $351 billion, compared to most like Walmart comes in a close second at $219 billion. You know, like now they realize that influencer marketing is so important. People are moving so much product in YouTube videos. I don't know if you guys have been listening to a lot of podcasts or a lot of big celebrities on YouTube. They're all endorsed by someone. They're all endorsed by, let's say, Blue Apron or Audible, right? And Audible is an Amazon company. They see that how much product they're moving. They realize, hey, if we give these guys a mini store, we'll be able to sell a lot of inventory. Totally makes sense. This is, I'm surprised that I didn't even think that Amazon will even jump on the affiliate game, but it's just gonna. What I want to see is how much product they're going to be moving, how well integrated it's going to be. But if I'm a fashion influencer, if I've got I know a lot of models who kind of set up like gift stores that they want people to buy them stuff, right?
Right.
This is a great way for Amazon to cash on that.
Yeah.
There's a
and you bring up a great point. I read the article yesterday that Amazon is now is of greater value. It's the, I think, most valuable company now, or at least they had mentioned that it's now more highly valued than Walmart. I read that just yesterday.
Right.
It's technically worth more than Walmart. Apple and Exxon probably are still at the top.
It was like 1,910% change to 2006. It was a little chart. I just pulled it up on my phone, but to compare where Amazon is now compared to most brick and mortar stores, it's insane.
It's insane. Yeah. So this is just them getting their fingers in. So they got their fingers in rockets. This is them getting their fingers in the next thing, right?
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts, Christian?
So, one, they already have an affiliate program. They have their whole associate side. I'm interested to see kind of how does this really differ from that? I mean, great. I've got a big social media following. Great. I've applied. Amazon accepts me. What do I get that I can't get now? For instance, like right now, I can go log into Amazon and I can get, most of these people, they can get access to those same links that we're talking about right now to drive somebody, for instance, for Audible and so forth. And still make an affiliate sale. They haven't given a percentage, so I'm wondering if maybe they'll get a higher percentage. That's probably my first question, and then the second part is you guys mentioned Walmart, for instance. Do you guys think that Walmart, for instance, would actually get into this game from an earning standpoint? I would say this: Walmart and a lot of these other really very large companies, they are typically they don't give a very large percentage back to people who promote their products. It's usually around 1%, maybe 3% at the most. Where Amazon, for instance, like this month, I think they're doing 12% on certain things. They might be doing, and then it comes down to like your conversion rate and whatnot. So do you guys think like Walmart, for instance, would get into this game now that Amazon's kind of jumped in and made their, splash? Because as we know, like over the past few weeks, Amazon, Walmart decided they were going to make adjustments to their shipping game. Amazon followed suit because, Walmart said, hey, we got to keep up with Amazon. And now, Walmart made a change. Amazon made their change. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Nick, do you want to go first?
No, go for it, Mo. I feel like Walmart's just going to have a hard time keeping up because they have so much overhead already in having so many brick and mortar stores. It's just they're on the losing side of this in my mind for the long term.
It's shopping culture. Amazon already has a shopping culture online. You know, they own it. Like if you're looking to get your product fast, if you're looking to get trusted reviews, you go and you trust Amazon. That's Walmart can, you know, maybe allow people to make curated lists, but when you go into Walmart, you're always doing physical shopping. It does not, you know, it really wouldn't make sense for them to do this. I'm sure they're even struggling right now with online sales. You know, I think this was definitely more of a, you know, now that you mentioned that there was an affiliate program already, this is more of a way to give people an identity online. Just so, you know, this is more like geared towards an influencer versus Amazon kind of raking the money. You know, the more I read into it, it's like, okay, anyone who has a following can make their own curated list, right? This is a chance to brand yourself as someone who can move traffic. But I don't see anyone else really stepping up to the game and taking over this business right now. I think Amazon definitely has a chokehold on all these brick and mortars. Maybe if there's another online selling service that gives people curated shop, great, but most of the time those people have their products hosted on Amazon. You know, it's not really bad.
Well, and they do that because, you know, people like, you know, when people go buy anything, like the first thing they say is, hey, I'm going to go to Amazon. But they do that because, you know, they know that you know, it used to be Walmart had the lowest price, but Amazon now, you know, they definitely, you know, they don't just have the lowest price. They have typically the largest inventory, but they are also very flexible in a sense on price too. They're willing to, like, you know, basically sell something at a loss, you know, loss leaders.
Exactly.
They're willing to sell something at a loss to get you to buy something, for instance.
There's trust, you know, there's people actively reviewing the product. You know what you're getting out of it. When you go to Walmart, you know, you don't, like, you ask the employee, hey, what do you think of this product? They won't know, you know, like, you can't ask past customers. Where's that, you know, when I go and purchase something from a brick and mortar store, nowadays I have doubt. You know, I used to be able to just go spend the money because I know it was, you know, there was quality assurance behind it, you know, and had to get a store somehow. I honestly have a hard time buying anything that's not online anymore. I need to know how it's worked out for other people. I need that validation. And that just kind of speaks to why influencer marketing became big, because people in an age where everything's delivered online, people need that validation.
Now, going back to those numbers, by the way, I don't know what they are, but if I were Amazon, for instance, I wouldn't care what the numbers were if somebody were promoting, you know, if they were driving sales, for instance, if people were, you know, if they were driving sales, for instance, for Amazon, like, I wouldn't really care who was actually driving those sales, you know, if I'm Amazon, for instance, because I know that, like, for instance, you know, Moshe, you've got a different set of friends than I have, and Nick, you have a different set of friends. So we have a few mutually exclusive friends, but we have, you know, a different set that, you know, in some cases somebody might, you know, they might buy a lot of things from you, but they might not buy anything from me, and so forth. So I'm really excited about this. I don't want it to be one of those things, though, where it becomes like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm an Amazon, you know, influencer, for instance, because I think influencer, you know, over the past few years at least, you know, it's a bit misleading to a lot of people. Like, people think influencer, like, oh, hey, like, this person's really, you know, they really are an influencer, but then, like, people are really just going off of, like, well, hey, they look like they're an influencer because they have a big audience, and not actually really delving into, like, you know, the information they're sharing or where they're getting their information from, and, you know, and so on.
And I had this conversation actually with Nats, who's here tonight. We had this conversation. Thanks for showing up, Nat. We had this conversation today, and it's like, you know, we're all influencers in a way. You know, if you guys trust me, if Mo and Christian trust me, and I say I recommend a product that I think you guys would like, that it's, you know, it's reasonably priced, you know, it works really well, we're all a little bit techie, you guys might want to try this out, you know, there's a little bit of influence there, probably. Oh, well, I got to know Nick a little bit. I trust him a little bit, and so you're influenced that way. And so everybody has a group that they already influence. And the word, as you mentioned, Christian, can be a little misleading because I'm not influenced by the celebrity selling me something. Mm-hmm. I don't trust that person. I don't think Tom Brady's driving around in a Buick. I don't believe that. So I think it is a little misleading, but I do think Mo makes a great point about I constantly hear Blue Apron on podcasts. So
Audible, yeah.
Or
Audible.com.
Those things are definitely, Blue Apron must have found a reason that podcasts work. It's mostly people, they must know that there's a lot of people who commute who aren't going to cook their own meals, and we have a great in with these people who are commuters, and they buy our product. So that has been, podcasts have been influential or influencers for Blue Apron. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I think it's just one more area where Amazon is kind of heads above their brick and mortar competition, and they can be because they haven't turned a profit yet, but they're
about the infrastructure is what they're doing.
Yeah, they are.
So, I want to go back to this whole you
got something more on this one?
I want to go back to the point you just made a minute ago about somebody, for instance, promoting Blue Apron or Audible or promoting whatever the product is. Do you think there needs when you kind of compare the two? So you look at the celebrity side, right? The celebrity, they will they're endorsing some sort of product. Most of the time, they're not using the product. Now, when you start to introduce anyone else who is an influencer, who's not necessarily a big name celebrity, are they for instance, say they're promoting the Blue Apron side of things, and this is nothing against either company, it's more of a question. Do you think there needs to be some sort of additional disclosure, not just saying, hey, I'm getting paid by this company, or I might make a percentage off of this? Do you think there needs to be something that actually has somebody actually using the product? Because I think in a way, because most of the time some people, they'll promote things just because they're getting a huge percentage off of it. Right. They won't actually use the product themselves. What do you
I guess it's just that evolution of influencer marketing going forward is are people, are we going to see that people are just not responding well to sponsored ads? Do they want to see things in action? Do they want that extra validation? I think that's a question that yet, remains to be seen, because people are okay with, the Blue Apron or the Audible being a quick second little advert, right? Mm-hmm. In YouTube videos, when most of the time, or any video content creator, most of the time they wait until the very end because they want to get that watch time. So people don't really care about the usage just yet. I've seen some YouTubers, put it into action, but I think this is more of a question of, let's say, when it comes to bigger sponsored products, if that makes sense. Not for the Audibles, not for the Blue Aprons, certainly not for the Amazon store. At the end of the day, it's just a store that I personally curated. If you want to do a bigger sell and show how to use a product from that list, that's up to the influencer. I don't think Amazon, it doesn't seem like Amazon is going to have much say in that. They're just saying, here, we want to make money off anything that you want to curate because it seems like your fans are demanding you to use some products. So, I guess, see where the future is, see if the future of validation comes through and see what fans expect out of influencers. Two separate topics kind of going into this. I don't know. What do you think about it, Nick?
I don't know. I am not so... overall, I am not really taken by influencers all that much. So I really have to see where this goes, because it very well could be. Mo, if you're on, all of a sudden, if you're on Amazon, even if you've got a smaller following than somebody who's got 100,000 followers across platforms, but I know you, and you recommending something that I find useful, this may affect me, but I really don't have strong opinions about this quite yet. I just don't. I haven't formed any real thoughts on this particular topic because I take a wait and see approach. They obviously find some value in it because they're giving it a shot. And I think for those of you who do have large followings or or rather niche followings, but it's large for that niche, then I think you need to look into applying because it may be a way for you to get some additional income.
And by the way, so because I think we're probably going to wrap the topic up, right?
Yeah.
For anybody who applies for this, like I've already applied, for instance, the way that this works is if like they don't tell you what the metrics are and whatnot. I haven't heard anything back. But if you apply and you get rejected, for instance, there's not another way for you to actually apply again. So, if you're interested in this, I would say, if you've got a really small following, work on building up your following first and then apply. But, we don't really know what the metrics are right now as far as what's the cutoff. Do you have to have 100,000 followers? Do you have to have, 5% engagement, which is really high, for instance, for social usually? Not really sure what that's going to be, but keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. Good input. So, Christian, give us some tools for tonight. Okay, I don't have the tools readily available. Do you have those links? Can you shoot those to me so I can put them on Facebook?
Yes, I will shoot them over to you here. Let me get those real quick.
Are we iMessaging that over?
Yeah, I'll just send them to. Yeah, I'll send through.
Okay, great.
Message. So the first tool I'm going to share with everybody tonight, it's called DrumUp. And let me get these over to Nick real quick.
I actually we had talked about using Messenger, and I went back to opened iMessage, and I had the 4 stories, but I didn't have the tools in there, so that was really my fault.
No worries at all. So there's the tools. But okay, so let's talk about the first one. It's called DrumUp. This is basically available as a desktop app. It's available as an Android app and an iOS app. What it is, it's a social media management tool. Basically, it's actually pretty convenient. It can help you curate content, for instance, for specific industries. So it's actually kind of nice. So you can actually sign up for this. When you sign up, what's really great is they'll actually give you an email every single day. And that email actually will have some additional stories in it. It might be, for instance, let's use a topic we're talking about tonight. Let's say we're talking about the whole, the new Twitter feature, the one where you can share your location as a business through direct message with customers. So what it might have is it's not just going to say, hey, here's the news article. They might actually then have some content that is related to that, for example. Okay. Or it might be content that's also related to Facebook stories. For instance, not just like, hey, here's Facebook stories, here's how to use them, but it might actually be a deeper dive into Facebook stories, for instance. So it's really good with curating content. But it also, it also is there because you can review the content, and then you can basically create and publish your post as well through this tool as well. So if you're using like a Hootsuite or you're using a Buffer, for instance, those are great tools for being able to like keep an eye on the conversation, but you still need a curation tool, and this actually can help you with some of that. So it's nice to be able to like not just be able to go in and say, okay, here's the channels that I'm managing, and I need to keep an eye on these hashtags, but these are also some of the blogs that I follow, or hey, I'm going to have DrumUp actually give me suggestions. They also have a really cool feature for hashtag recommendations, and they also have so they call them smart hashtag recommendations, and then there's also a repeat scheduling feature. So you can actually take some of that content and reschedule it out again without having to, let me schedule this week, and let me go next week and do that as well, or let me go to my spreadsheet. It's all basically through there, and there's a Google Chrome extension as well for this.
Okay.
So, Moshe, have you used this tool yet?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so I'm pretty interested to put it to use.
So, I don't, feel free to give it a try and let me know what you think. But that's DrumUp.
All right. And what else do you got for us?
Okay. So the second tool that we've got for tonight, and I really wanted to, I'll say this, I really wanted to share so Apple, for instance, this week released an app called Clips. It literally just came out today, just a couple of hours ago. But before Clips, this app is called Sprinkles, and it's Sprinkles Camera with Fun Ideas. Now, this is a Microsoft app, and they're very similar. We'll talk about Clips next week, but Sprinkles is a pretty neat little app. I actually think, Nick, you might like this because it ties into the AI side of things.
Okay.
So what it does is you basically can take a photo and it can automatically analyze the photo and give you suggestions. For example, it can suggest certain text captions to put on, automatically add captions to photos, and so forth. So you can add stickers. You can do some really neat stuff. It does face detection, so you basically don't get this big sticker that doesn't fit. Instead, you can get something that fits perfectly. So there's the whole AI side of things to this, which I think is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Where I actually see this being used, Mo, you see if you agree with me on this, since we're both kind of Snapchat guys. I feel like this is something that Snapchat will either take and use themselves in the near future, or purchase, or they're working on something similar to this. That would be something I would assume in this after seeing this, because that is pretty cool. What are your thoughts?
And definitely looks more like Snowed, if anything, the Asian competitor to Snapchat.
Okay.
I feel like it's this is more like the US version, I guess. So more or less, I would say Instagram might adopt some of these features. If anything, the pictures kind of look more Instagram-ish.
They do.
I have to give it a try, but if anything, I feel like Snapchat still has a face recognition, and like the 3D lenses on point. Maybe their tools for content creation are not the best. I got to give props to Facebook. They definitely have that on point.
Okay.
But Microsoft trying to cash in on the stories trend. That's what it is here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I see.
Everyone's got to have a story.
Everybody's got to have a story, and I think that's what is that the. I know we're going to talk about it next week, but isn't Clips Apple's version of stories?
Clips
I feel
is
like it's
essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? I feel like it's more a video editor, if anything.
Well, it's a video editor, but if you look at really the way people are kind of using it right now, so granted, like I said, it just came out a couple hours ago. I played around with it. I got something I'm going to actually try with it tomorrow, Nick.
Okay.
But it basically, it's the same kind of thing. People are using it to say, hey, like, this is like, first sequence of the video. This is second, third, fourth, fifth. They're basically using it in a stories mode. Even though you're right, it is a video editor, but people are turning it into stories. So
too many stories. I think I give up at this point.
Story overload. I'm going to start telling people when I see them, and those are all our tools for tonight, correct? Those
yes,
are
that's all our tools tonight. Yes.
I feel like I'm going to start telling people that there's these things called local theaters that you can go to, and they tell stories there as well, and just start telling people that there's a non-high-tech way to tell a story.
And everybody tells stories. I mean, by the way, what do you guys think about, like, as we wrap things up, what do you guys think about all these, like, tools? Like, there's a lot of overlap, it seems, from every single company out there. I mean, you've got your big companies, you've got your Microsofts, you've got your Apples, your Facebooks, your Snapchats, your Instagrams. They're all coming out with, story components. You've got multiple apps coming out and saying, hey, we're going to do video, even though Facebook has, live video, or Instagram live video. What do you guys, are you guys a little, are you on story overload?
I am on story overload, and I think it's just everybody jockeying for the same attention. Everybody wants to get, wants to have everything that the other one has, so that they keep the people in their apps, so that they can sell the products to them, or so that the ads will be in that. I think I've heard Joel Comm refer to it as eyeballs per minute.
Mm-hmm. Eyeballs per minute, that's a good one. I'm personally fatigued, I am, I was just thinking, like, how much I've come from using Snapchat as a younger kid, right? I'm only 23, but now, like, the other day I was thinking to myself, hey, I'm going to take a picture on Snapchat. Wait a minute, where am I going to repost this? Now I repost it on Instagram. Like, now I don't want to do it on Facebook. Like, am I going to take the picture from, like, from Instagram now? It's just it's too much.
It's too much. You just have to find a couple, and this brings it right back for our business listeners. You got to find the platforms that work for you, where your audience is, and that's where you need to spend your time, because you cannot spend your time on all of them.
No, it's social media minimalism, basically.
Yeah.
Find the network that works. I mean, like, did you guys happen to see that infographic that was out? I think maybe it was last week. It was the amount of time people spent on social media channels. It was ridiculous how much time people were spending on these sites. whether it was just updating things or, I got to check the comments here and I got to go back and update this. It was ridiculous. Of what you
it's exhausting.
Do what?
It's exhausting. It is exhausting. And if you're a business trying to figure out where your ad dollars should be spent, where your time should be spent, you go crazy trying to be in every place. You got to find what works for you, and then
what works for your customers. That's the first thing.
Where are your customers at? Where do they want to see you at?
And then you develop your story around that, and there you go.
I feel like if I hear the word story one more time, I'm going to develop PTSD. Just thinking about all the content I have to create.
Or it could be like Pee Wee Herman, where you had like the story or the word of the day or something like that, and somebody's going to scream like,
one more story.
And it never, nobody ever covers, or not that nobody does, but we all forget that not everybody is a storyteller. It's hard to be there's an art to it, and so you don't just go on there and create just whatever just to tell what's happening. So the stories from a business perspective, you really have to put some analysis into it and some thought into it.
It's like everyone can be a vlogger, but nobody can be Casey Neistat. Everyone can be a public speaker, but nobody can be Gary Vaynerchuk. You gotta put it's a job. It's a job to be a storyteller. If you have the chops, good. You just covered. You just jumped to step 4. If you're step 1 like me, it's easy to get fatigued, and I think that's what Facebook didn't realize by adopting all these stories at once. It's like, people are still getting used to being in front of a camera. Now that you're, putting it in front of their faces, it's more daunting. Like, especially live. I loved when Meerkat came out. It was getting people used to it. It should have had more time to breathe before Facebook kind of adopted it and crammed everyone with the marketing campaign. It was, it was good to get in front of people, but nobody was ready to go in front of the camera. Let them get used to the concept first with these smaller apps. So maybe I think that's what we're experiencing again, is the fatigue of Facebook adopting something that was niche and cool. Now it's just in your face.
And they're trying to make it, as Facebook can, makes it not cool. But
exactly.
In our last conversation, we had talked about them copying Snapchat, and we were very down. Our tone changed in that conversation. But then when we moved to a topic about Facebook 360, 360 video, we were all great with it.
We rolled out the red carpet. We loved it.
Because it wasn't an imitation, and it wasn't them taking something that was cool and making it uncool. It was something that they were leading the way on rather than imitating. And I wish we had that piece of video, because I think that was very telling in something that they could have used as market research for people who are involved in this. And at one point, we were all just down on Facebook. And then you turn it to another topic, and we were all like, this is something they're leading the way on, and they should. That really was very telling culturally for me, from a social media cultural perspective. That, look, you guys are doing stuff that is really cool. You don't have to do every single thing that your other competitors doing who has their own niche. You just don't have to have your fingers in everything. But I think that is still their attempt to become the WeChat of America. Anyway, guys, that's it. That is our stories. Those are our stories for tonight. Come back next week. We'll have more stories for you. We'll just keep ramming that one in there, beating the dead horse with stories. Christian, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. By the way, Moshe, absolutely a pleasure to have you back on to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome, and thanks so much for all of the valuable insight that you've shared.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I need to, Mo, please tell people where to find you at, because I almost forgot that part.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter with the handle at Moshe Isaacian, MosheIsaacian. It's a very foreign name, so spelling it out sometimes has to be done. Same thing with LinkedIn. I'm always on Twitter sharing new information, new developments as they happen. So if you do want to reach out to me, DMs are always open. I have some tips I'm still sitting on. There's a lot of discoveries I made about Facebook Live and about Instagram that I want to share with the right people. And I'm looking forward to connecting with people.
Excellent. Thanks, Moshe.
Thank you for having me.
Excuse me. And Christian, take us out.
So for those of you who want to tune in to next week's show, simply head to facebook.com/social chefs. The show will be at 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we also have just a couple other things for you. We've got a weekly or daily email actually we send out. If you go to socialchefs.com/subscribe, that will get you on our list. And then once you're on our list, we'll notify you with a blog recap that's going to get published tomorrow. We'll also notify you of new topics. But in the meantime, if you want to connect with us, the best places, we're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, at Social Chefs. So I want to thank everyone again for being on for tonight. Nick, Moshe, thanks a lot. And everyone watching, thank you for all of your valuable contributions. And for
thank you, Nat. Thank you, Joanne. We appreciate it. Have a good night, everybody.